Y'all, she crab soup is one of my favorite soups. It absolutely takes me back to Charleston, South Carolina on a work trip. And here are the ingredients that you use to make it. I learned to make that stuff as soon as I got home. I wanted to know what was in it and how to get it done. I also have a list of those ingredients if you want to pause the screen right here so that you can know what's in it. But I start out with a little butter in the pan and then also a little bit of olive oil and melt those down to get it real hot. And then add in the garlic, the minced garlic there, so that it can begin seasoning and flavoring the oil. Also add in my onions along with the garlic, and then on top of that, I'm going to add in my celery, and all of those are going to cook down and get soft so that they will be a base part of the soup. And so as they're cooking down, I'm going to stir them around so that they kind of get even coating and even browning in the bottom of the pan. And once that is done, I'm going to add in a little bit of sherry to start deglazing the pan, because as you see, it's cooked down to the bottom there. And so it brings the flavor back. When you add in that sherry, it brings the flavor up from the bottom where it's been cooked down. And I'm going to let that cook down and reduce. And so it reduces down to just a little bit of liquid, and seasons your vegetables that are in the pan before you move on to your next step, which is going to be adding the flour. And so I'm going to add the flour in and then get my whisk and start stirring it around. And basically it absorbs all of the liquid that's in the pan and kind of almost makes like a soup roux, for lack of a better term. And so making sure that the flour is all in. And then once the flour is all in and coated, all of the vegetables and everything else is in the bottom of the pan and coated with that flour, and all of the liquid is absorbed, I go back in with some seafood stock. I'm going to add in 2 cups of that. So that'll start building up my soup, putting in for the base there. And so I'm going to still use a whisk, though, you'll see, instead of a spoon, because you can use a spoon. But since my vegetables are a little bit bigger than they probably should be, and I did not use my immersion blender this time to blend it all the way down so that it's basically like a puree, I'm just going to use the whisk just to make sure that it's blended in. And so I add in my cayenne pepper. And then I go back and also add in my Cajun seasoning, and just a teaspoon of that, because I don't like mine really hot, but you can add in more if you like it a little hot. And then here I am again with that whisk. I'm just going to continue to whisk it all in because I want it to all be blended well. But you can use a mixing spoon once you get to this point. But my vegetables are in there, and I just want to make sure that it's done, since I did not blend it down to a puree. But you can blend it down to a puree. And then once that is done, add in a little bit of lemon juice, just a teaspoon. And so add that in, and it helps to bring out a lot of that seafood flavor that you're going to taste, especially when you're talking about crab. And then also, now we add in the other star of the show, the heavy cream. And so this is what makes this a really creamy soup, of course. And so adding in that cream and then starting to mix in it all together before we add in the crab. And so just stirring it to make sure that it all blends well and that you're getting all of your flavors in there. And again, you can use a spoon at this point, but I decided to use a whisk because my vegetables are a little bit bigger than normal. And so stirring it there. Now I got the spoon. Well, I'm adding in the crab. And so I add in probably about 3/4 of the crab meat there. And just to make sure that it's really meaty, because I love crab. Add in a little bit of parsley, and after you get that color, once it's all blending and cooked down, that's the soup, y'all. That is it. And so once the soup is done, the crab meat that I had left over, the cooking sherry, you're going to add some to it because it's going to top your soup. And so that's a big part of enjoying this she crab soup after the fact. And so I ladle it up, go ahead and put it in my bowl so that I can now start finishing it off and enjoy it. And so there it is. And then the crab that's been sitting in the cooking sherry, I top it off at the top of my bowl. That's almost like your garnish. And then putting a lot more, because I love crab, of course. I love seafood. I just love seafood. But anyway, putting it there at the top, and there's your she crab soup. And it's really a lump crab soup for me because, again, I didn't have the she crab, but I have the lump crab. So it's my at-home version of the she crab soup, and it's really delicious. I hope you enjoy it.